Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here, and it is Saturday the 27th of April. Thanks again for watching. Remember that we kept free of charge because of the adverts that you see around the screen here. It's when you come back and use the adverts and use the site, that's what generates the revenue that keeps us free of charge. So thank you for doing that. Now, you'll have to excuse my snotty nose, as you can hear. Got a bit of the man flu. Of course, nobody's ever felt like this. Anyway, let's take a look at what's going on. I tried to convince my wife that she'd never experienced pains like this. She looked straight at our two children, and I managed to escape rather quickly. Anyway, this is the rainfall chart for the next week. It's predicted rainfall, taking us through to midday on the 4th. And again, you can see how most of the rain, look, here is across northern and western parts of Scotland, the north and the west of Ireland too. Relatively little further south, at just 5 to 10 millimetres, but most of the rain certainly occurring up here towards the north and the west. So overall, quite a dry week, and temperatures showing a steady rise up. Look, that general trend upwards in temperatures, getting through to the end of next week, and then we kind of level off a little bit. Notice most rainfall as well, look, through the course of this weekend, early into next week, just bringing some showers, relatively little further on. So we've got a shower a few days ahead, but I wanted to jump forward and just look at how things look middle to the end of next week. Compare between the charts. This is the Canadian model for the 7th of May. And notice here we've got this big ridge, look, out in the Atlantic. You've got the jet stream split. One section coming off down here. Another section is up here towards the north of Scotland. High pressure is in between. Compare that to the ECMWF, which also sees the ridge through here. Now, it doesn't really make much of the jet through the Med. There's a little bit of a jet stream here. Sorry, can you see that? Let me do that in black. There's a bit of a jet stream here through the Med, but also another portion of the jet stream is flowing through here towards the north. So the overall pattern is there, but instead of having high pressure to the east, it's got high pressure up towards the north. And then compare those charts to the GFS ensemble, and again, look, we've got the ridge through here. Not quite so marked. The GFS does tend to smooth things out a little bit. It has the jet stream blowing up here towards the north, and another section of the jet stream down here towards the south. So you see how they're kind of lining up together. The GFS ensemble has the high here. So we've got this overall impression of high pressure being close by the end of next week. Need to watch for still some risks of rain across northern and western Scotland, but this general evolution of high pressure coming in, of conditions getting warmer and generally dry, seems to be one that can be accepted. So if we can accept that, let's just jump forward and see what the end of the GFS ensemble model does. This is valid for the 13th of May. And yeah, look, we've got our ridge here out toward the east, high pressure here with a ridge at the surface there extending through the British Isles, bringing generally fair conditions. So it sees this area of high pressure as being in, it sees it as dominant. Probably we'd see some rain just coming in on that southwesterly flow across northern and western Scotland, but for most it would be dry. There'd be some sunny spells. Just need to watch that northeasterly look, clipping the southeastern coast again. I think this is going to be a feature of the weather into the middle to late part of May. If the high becomes centred up here, we tend to get more of a northeasterly flow across the east and the south. So we can have relatively high confidence leading into the end of next week, into the middle part of May. What about beyond that? Well, this is the CFS between the 10th and the 16th of May. You see it's putting high pressure here out towards the east. Got low pressure in the Atlantic here. So the flow would be doing something like that. So a dry week overall with that high there. Now, if we just take a look at week 4, which is this one here, you notice it's got rid of the high, it's got low pressure off western Iberia. The flow would be doing probably something like that. So I think we'd have our high pressure across here, but what we need to do is to watch for the risk of rain just coming into the south and the southeast. This is the period the 17th to the 23rd, but again, pressure is generally high and is dominated by high pressure. So again, we can draw dry conditions from this. Now, there's a good comparison to be had between the CFS and the Japanese as well, because this is the Japanese chart for week 2, going ahead from the early part of May through to the middle part of May, up to around the 12th of the month. And again, you see here, very similar to the CFS look, it's got high pressure centred towards the east, we've got lower heights here towards the west of the UK, and we've got that sort of pattern, which is very similar to the one that we saw on the CFS. So good comparison between the models. Now this is how it sees its day 16 to 29. So this is week 3 and 4 combined, which takes us up to around about the 23rd of May. It's got yellower colours on there, hinting that heights are generally higher than normal, but it's got lower than normal heights up towards the north. So the pattern that the model here, the Japanese, tries to do is to bring a trough off the States, off the eastern coast of the States. It tries to put a ridge across southern parts of Europe, but it's also trying to show that split jet, I think, going across the north of Europe, which would put high pressure back in across the British Isles. So generally, we've got to accept this idea of the dry weather lasting into the middle to perhaps even the later part of May, but we need to watch the idea of the breakdown coming late in the month. This period from about the 21st of May onwards is going to be a fascinating one, and it may be that actually dictates the pattern for the summer. Okay, hopefully that's been useful for you. Again, I know loads of information there, particularly considering I gave you the latest ideas for the summer yesterday. But hopefully it's useful for you. Thanks again for watching. Remember, we're kept free of charge by the adverts that you see around the screen, and by you coming back and using the site. That's what keeps us free of charge. So thank you for doing that. So whatever you're doing today, have a great day and keep the sun shining. Bye for now.